What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video, and today we are here because I want to talk a bit about The Crew 2. So some of you may have already seen the first impressions I gave after the E3 Ubisoft conference. After that conference, finished, I made a video about it. I gave my initial impressions after E3 and talked about, what I thought of The Crew then. But since then, more gameplay has dropped from Slaptrain, from Theo, and a few other people. I'll put some gameplay down in the description if you want to go ahead and watch it yourself. I'm not going to post it in this video. But essentially, some more gameplay dropped, and we know a whole bunch more about The Crew 2. And honestly, I've done a complete 180 on this game. Initially, I was quite, cautiously optimistic, but having actually seen gameplay and, having seen people's thoughts on the game so far, I can quite gladly say this is up there with, Game of the Year contender. I know it's coming out in 2018, but you get what I mean. This, for me, is back up there with Need for Speed Payback in terms of being my racing game of this generation. I think one of the two is going to take it. This time next year, we'll obviously know. But for now, I got a very strong feeling it's going to be one of the two. So number one, why am I looking so forward to The Crew now, after seeing gameplay? Well, number one, it's not forced on you to use bikes or planes, which was one of the main things I was worried about. I was hoping, oh, do I really have to use planes now just because they're in the game? Am I going to be forced? And I imagine to complete the proper story, you're going to have to do a few missions, but it's nice to know that I'm not going to be forced into, into using a certain boat or a certain plane if I don't want to. The maps are a lot more dense now, so we've got multi-story car parks, which hasn't been a thing since Burnout Paradise, I don't think. And there's no barriers at all. So if you want to drop down from flying in a plane and just drop down into a car, you can do that. There's no barriers. Even when if you want to go up some stairs, you can do that. There's no barriers in the world whatsoever, from what I've seen now, at least, from what I've seen so far, at least. Customization is going to be coming back, which is a huge thing for me. One of the reasons I fell in love with The Crew, the original The Crew, was because that, the customization, we hadn't seen something like that in a very long time up to that point. So for me, really, The Crew was one of those games that really kind of started the kind of customization wave we've seen recently. And as well as that, it seems to just be building off, what we originally hoped for from The Crew. The map isn't just a reused map. They've revamped the map. They've increased the density of certain areas where they felt is needed. It's basically a version 2 of America. Think about it that way. And for me, for the second game, that's completely fine. I completely get it. You want to basically do what you didn't do in the first game. You want to basically revamp and redo everything that you kind of felt that you missed out on in the first game, and that's fine. And honestly, I think Ivory Tower deserve a lot of credit for the risks they've taken with The Crew 2. It could have quite easily been, you know what? We've got this game, we've got this base, we're just gonna, make a new map, and we're just gonna, add a few new things, and that's it. But what they've done here is just beyond that. They've completely redone the map. They've reworked the physics from the ground up. They've added in 2 more types of vehicle transport. This isn't just a racing game anymore. This is on a different type. It's like an exploration game almost. The fact, even the map is completely changed. Now, there's definitely a few problems I have with the game at the moment. As far as I'm aware, you can still only have up to 4 people in your crew. In 2017, that's not enough. I would say minimum is 8, but even then, 8 isn't really enough. I know Need for Speed is 8, but I would like to see the crew open and expand in terms of, how many people you can actually fit in your crew, because I just felt like 4 wasn't enough in the last game. I feel like the use of the map is a lot better in this one, and that's something I've definitely noticed. It just depends on how I use it, really. I do have worry about customization. I've got a feeling that maybe it might be a bit, cut off because of the amount of, new content that's being added into the game, like boats and planes. As well as that, I'm also worried that, are certain portions of the game going to take a hit in terms of content because there's planes and boats added. That's another thing I'm worried about. I definitely do have my worries for The Crew 2, but I'm looking a lot more optimistic for it because, The Crew 2 looks extremely ambitious, and that was one thing I really respected the first game for, and one thing which I've really adored the first game for was trying so many new things in a day and age where developers and companies don't really try new things at all anymore. People are really relying on remasters and old games, like Need for Speed as well. That's kind of a homage to the older Need for Speed games. As with The Crew, it's bringing something completely new to the table and completely different. I wouldn't want Need for Speed to go and do what The Crew's doing. That's not what I'm saying, Taking homage of what worked in the past for Need for Speed is perfect, and they should continue with that because that's working and that's fine. But with The Crew, it's a new IP. It's only have one title. You know, Ivory Tower have only made one title. I think to, you know, do something so bold in this regard, it's huge. It's a great thing. You know, it's disappointing we're not going to really get a gritty story mode again. It looks like it's taking hints off, you know, the Wild Run and Forza Horizon. I have a problem with that setting at all, but it would have been nice if we got another gritty undercover cop situation with the old characters like Alex and stuff. But I'm not going to sit here and moan and say that's the end of the world, because to be honest, I don't really play racing games for the story mode. I play it, you know, for the end game, for the PvP, for the things you can do after you've completed the story mode. Obviously, story mode, it's really, really cool. Like with Need for Speed, people keep moaning about the story mode in Need for Speed, but realistically, after the first month, I'm not going to touch the story mode. I'm going to be playing PvP, messing around with the cars, going around playing with my friends. So, you know, it's not too much of an issue, but especially for the crew, it would have been nice if we could have got, you know, the old characters returning and, you know, a similar story mode to what we had last time. It's going to be interesting. I think at this point, you know, I want to play it, and I think I'm going to get hands-on with it at EGX in September. That's kind of like a UK gaming conference thing, and I've got tickets to go. So if any of you guys go, let me know in the comment section down below, but I'm probably going to play the crew there at some point, as well as Need for Speed. So if that's something that interests you and you want to hear more about the crew and you want to hear more about Need for Speed, make sure to go ahead and hit subscribe. And yeah, that's pretty much it, really. I think I've got everything I needed to get off my chest for now. I'm looking forward to seeing what we have in store. The gameplay looks promising, and I can't wait to see what comes of the crew later down the line, and especially in the beta. So if you do want more of the Crew 2 coverage as well as other arcade games, make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I will see you guys in the next one. You guys have been awesome. Stay safe and peace.